Thank you for tuning into another episode of Time Traveler's Handbook. Today we're going to be talking more about Avengers Endgame, spoilers ahead. So we're going to define what kind of causality exists in this universe, and that's going to help us define what kind of a universe Avengers Endgame is happening in. Causality is essentially the cause and effect of the universe. So if you do something, what effect does that have on the future? How this relates to time travel is if you go to the past and change something in the past, how does that affect the future or your present self? Because a lot of times, this kind of interaction will erase you from history or otherwise. It's established early on by Hulk and Iron Man that this is not really the way that this goes. One cannot go to the past and change the future because the past becomes their present and the future becomes their past. As if this was supposed to make any sort of sense in the moment. Basically, it's that the future has already been set, the future has already been experienced, and so going to the past and changing things does nothing to the future, at least within a particular timeline. So the so-called rules of time travel, such as not talking to your former self and not betting on sports games, those don't really apply to the MCU. They can encounter their previous selves and not really have an impact on their future. So this leads us to an important fact. Traveling to the past will create an alternate reality every single time you travel back to a new point in time. We can assume this is the case because of further evidence that changing events in the past do not affect the future of the Prime Universe. And here's the evidence. Loki escapes in 2012 with the Space Stone, for example, which would mean that he would not be imprisoned at the events of Thor the Dark World, and that would have all played out very differently, among other things. The biggest discontinuity is that Thanos no longer exists in 2014, which means that he would not have been in the universe to perform the snap, which is the entire basis of this movie. If the universe were continuous and an event like that did change the future, then the entire future would be rewritten and it would be possible after everything to change the past to affect the future. Thus, traveling to the past must create an alternate reality where the future can be mutable. The future is affected by these sort of things because that future doesn't just cease to exist when those characters leave Back to the Future. We can also assume that the parallel universes created from time travel continue after Captain America returns the stones to them. This means, in brief summary of the universes, that the 2014 universe most likely did not have a snap as Thanos no longer existed. While Loki escaped in 2012, Thanos would still be out there in the universe, which means the snap could happen again in the 2012 and 2013 universes. Same goes for 1970 and 1950. Since Thanos still existed there, it's very likely that he still caused the snap to happen. He is inevitable, after all. One final mention is the fact that Captain America can travel to the universes that were previously traveled to. This is probably where a lot of people get tripped up because that's kind of the least explained element of the time travel in the film. Because you would think that when you travel back to a point in another universe, that would create a branching timeline from that universe. If that were true, then the Ancient One was wrong about bringing back the stones to their original universes being a valid solution, as any attempt to do so would bring back the stones to a new universe, and the old one would still exist and still turn into a dark timeline. With the knowledge that the Ancient One is probably an expert in the subject of parallel universes and time manipulation, I think it's safe to say that it's entirely possible to return to the parallel universes, and that the combination of the navigation suits and the vague rules of the quantum realm makes this work out in the end. And this is kind of going to contribute to how we structure the definition of the universe. That's it for this episode. Next time, we're going to start laying out our theories about what could be happening in this movie. As always, thank you for listening.